Hello there, Inky Fingers here from Inky Fingers Architectural Art. Now in this video today I'm going to be drawing and painting this scene. The consular of quite a famous little cafe in Paris. Now why this building? Well, I like doing things like this because of the simplicity of it. It's nothing really that complicated in the drawing wise, and it's colourful, and I can show how easy it is to draw something like this by looking at just basic shapes. Now I have done a video in the past about this very thing, a whole video, but I will go over it slightly on about how you can do something like this, just in case anyone's come across this video, this channel, and they haven't looked at the previous video. Now to draw something like this, it's very simple. All we need to look at is the shape. As you can see, it's literally the whole building itself is a rectangle, a simple rectangle. Now we have a dividing area here which we can put in, which would make it basically two rectangles, and then within these two rectangles, in the top one we have 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller rectangles. They're not windows, they're rectangles. You don't look at them as anything but a basic shape. In the bottom half, again, you've got some windows here, rectangle. You've got a like a little blackboard with the menu on, rectangles. Everything is squares, rectangles. So if you can draw a square, if you can draw a rectangle, then no problem, you should be okay. Now the first thing you would do when you draw something like this would be to get the overall building, never mind these bits, they're secondary. The main important part is the overall outside structure of this rectangle. And the way you would do that, to get it one, in proportion, and two, the correct size on your paper, would be to simply take the base measurement, which we can see would be there to there, and then see how many times the length goes into the height. So if I just use my fingers like this, and then 1, 2, so the base, the length, goes into the height 2 times. So what you could then do is simply take a paper, draw a line across. This is your base, the width of it, and then measure it, and then 1, 2, and form a rectangle. If you find that rectangle is too small for your paper, you need a bit larger, then simply extend or make longer the base or the width of that building, and then make another measurement, 1, 2, and you just continue doing that until you get the right size. And once the right size, you've got the right size, and they'll be in proportion, of course, because it's 2 to 1, the ratio, then you can start to put in the smaller rectangles, which will become windows. And it won't take long before you've got the outline and the detailing, or what's going to be the detailing, the windows, the doors, and etc. in position, and they're going to be correctly scaled and in the right positions, as I've said. Or you can do it the other way, which I do, and that's to use the good old proportional scale dividers, an indispensable tool for anyone who does this type of thing, especially if they want to do it something indoors. You wouldn't use these out of doors, they wouldn't really work out of doors, that's a different matter entirely. But in the studio, these things are fantastic. Now what do these do? Well, simply, they are a measuring tool, a tool to measure. You can simply measure up, like so. If it's 1 to 1, as this is, because this is an A4 piece of paper, printout, and this is an A4 piece of paper, so it fits perfectly anywhere. So you could just measure up like that and then put your measurements in. or if you want to scale, you can, if you want to make things smaller, then you can say we'll do that there. We can measure up the width of that roof, turn these around, and then you'll find that if on this setting, if this little bit here is on this setting, you can see that it's going to be slightly reduced. If you take this off and move this little locking nut further up into these the holes here, you'll get, if you do it this way for reduction, you'll get it smaller, become smaller, smaller and smaller. So you can get tiny little buildings, tiny whatever you want, but it'll still be in proportion. Now, of course, if you do it the other way, you want to enlarge, then you just use this bit. You mark it up like that, then turn it round, and then if we put that there on this hole, we can see that it is slightly enlarged. We've scaled it up. And once again, if you move this and you put it down these holes here, the scaling up will become larger and larger and larger. So it doesn't matter what you've got on your source paper. If it's something small, a small picture, you can scale up, no worries at whatsoever, and it will still, if you use this, it will still be all in perfect proportion. But as I said, this is once going to be A4 source, A4 picture, so I don't need to do any scaling. It's just going to be like that, straight off there, straight onto there. And this, believe me, this is the best way to do things like this. If you want to draw something more accurately, get yourself some proportional scale dividers. These little cheap plastic ones are literally about £5 off eBay or Amazon. Really inexpensive, but fantastic. So I'll just show quickly of how I would do this. Now you'll find that this has a crosshair. Now I did this in Photoshop. Otherwise, you could just measure along, get the half it, and then draw it out. This reference mark. But it's got a crosshair, and you also do the same on your picture here. So you got it's a reference mark. So then all you need to do to get your measurements is simply take a reference point, which we'll use the central point here. So, for example, in this, we'll put our point bang on the middle in the center point there, and we will put that there so it marries up with the side of that. And then simply, there's our center point. Do that there. We put a little mark there, and we do exactly the same with the other end, like so. A little mark there, and there we go. That's the width of our building. Simple as that. For the height, well, simply I'll just do it up to this part there, not the roof. I'll do that separately, but it's the same thing. We just use our central point there. This is where the point we take all of our measurements, and we just open it up. Let's get this. It's about like so on our central point. Put a mark there, and we do exactly the same with the base here. So on our central mark, we need to go there, like so. Then we just put that there and put a mark there. 1, 2, 3, 4 marks. Fantastic. Then all we need to do is really, I use a drawing board for this because it just makes it so much easier. So we put a line there, a line going up, a line going up there, and then to finish it off, a line going across there. And there we are. That is our outside of the building all done. Simple as that. And I know that this is 100% accurate. And then I'll just quickly, for the windows, you do the same thing. Say for example we want to put this window in, so we'll have this, the bottom of this base of this window there, so that will come across to that line there. So the pointers on our reference point in the middle, just put them to that mark there, reference point in the middle, put a line there, and that is going to be the base of our window, which also happens to be the base of this. It looks like a LED flashing or something. So what we can do there is just put a line across there. Now we've got that mark there. All we need to do is measure in where that wall is and that wall is. So we've got our mark there. We'll just, that's to that left hand side of the window. That's there. And then our reference mark again, always by our initial point. That goes there. Like so. And then we've got, there we are, this is the width of our window. And for the height, simply from there to there. It's there to there. And then if we can just put our little ruler there, put that there. And that's our window, perfectly in proportion. And the good thing about these type of windows, these type of buildings, is that this window is identical to that. So if you put a ruler on the edge of this window, it's identical to that one, the top one. Same with this. So we can kill two birds with one stone basically. And we'll just put that there. And we'll just draw a line. So we just have to measure out where that and that is, and it's exactly the same of what I've just done there. You do with that window, and you would do the same with these windows. It's literally as simple as that. Now I'm going to do this all in pencil. And then what I'll do when it's done, I'll come back and I'm going to go over it with pen, but I'm going to use the pen freehand. I'm not going to be using any rulers, so we're going to get that sort of freehand, sort of looser look. We could have done that in this stage, but really I want this to be nice and accurate, nice and neat, and then we go over it with the pen. And we'll put some little wobbles in, or hand wobbles or whatever, to make it a bit more impressionistic, that type of thing. So I'll do this and then I'll be back. Right, this is the drawing done. And as you can see, it is a fairly detailed drawing. The pencil I used was a 2H. I like using the hard graphite because one, it doesn't really need sharpening very often, and you get a nice fine line. But we can see there is a fair amount of detail put in, but because I used the proportional scale divider, that I know that everything is correct. And the paper we're using is just some Winsor & Newton mixed media paper, 250 GSM or £130 in old money. Very good paper. Takes ink very well, but it also takes watercolor washes quite well and all. But now the pencil is stage is put in, all with the rulers, and it's all neat and tidy. It looks very tight, but I don't really want it that tight, so now becomes the inking stage. And then I could be using fountain pens, but on this occasion I'm going to go back to the old school and just use a good old dipping pen with a bottle of India ink, black ink. I'm just going to do all this freehand, just so I can have like a little bit of a wobble. And it's going to look a little bit more expressive. A little bit more free. Be looking something like that. Now this is quite a smooth paper. It's got a little bit of a tooth, but because it's quite smooth and it's thick, it takes the pen really well. And using a dipping pen, we can, if we want to push down a little bit, we can get a much thicker line. If we are just very light on the pressure, you get a much thinner line. So you've got ample scope to get as much variability as you like. The only thing with these pens, of course, is you have to constantly refill them. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill in all of the area, all of the picture, and then when it's all done, I'll be back and we begin to paint it. So this is the inking in work now done. We can see that it's no longer as neat as it was in pencil, because I've just gone over it freehand. So I've made sure that I've got some little wobbly lines. I've pressed down on the pen a little bit here and there, and that gives us some thicker, more expressive lines. We've put some background buildings in, which will only be done very simply, and I put two people in just for a little bit of scale. Now starting off as ever with the sky. Now because this isn't watercolour paper, you've got to watch it a little bit with the watercolour washes. It's not as robust as watercolour paper, even though it's not too bad at all, but it's going to have a different look and a different feel than proper watercolour paper. So all these washes are going to pretty much be simple flat washes. I really don't think I'll be doing anything really intricate. Now the sky's done, I'm doing this the road and the pavement. This is just a silvery wash. It's cobalt blue and light red. Now basically what I'm doing is I'm just getting rid of the white paper because it is very distracting. I will go over this this ground with other colours a bit later on, but still just simple washes. I'm just toning the paper at this point in time. Now this is the good bit. Because of the vibrant colour of this part of the picture of the photograph, I'm using Pyrrol Red Daniel Smith. It's an absolutely amazingly intense colour. A little goes a long way, and I wanted this to be really vibrant. few roses in the flower pots up there while I've got the red out. Now the green is just a mix, a green with some yellow ochre and I think a touch of blue just to darken it up a tad. But a nice complementary colour to the bright vivid red. Looks nice. Now the roof, I've done the roof now because I just wanted to get a bit of dark in to give it a bit of tonal contrasts, and this is just ultramarine blue, light red, and some carbon black. And these are the blackboards that have the menu on them. This is the same colour as the roof, just a little bit more carbon black, just to make it a bit more of that deep colour. Now this is where a bit of a problem is. It's more Naples yellow in the photograph, but I don't have Naples yellow, so this is white ink with yellow ochre mixed in with it, just to give that impression that it could be yellow, Naples yellow. I really should buy some Naples yellow sometime. Now the background buildings, I wasn't really sure what to do with them, so I want to keep them in the background, but I don't want to keep them just as outlines. So this is just the colour I've just used for the building. The white ink nip and yellow ochre, both a hell of a lot more water in to make it really dilute. I will do something else to the back, but I'm not sure what. Now get the woodwork in. It was a very chestnutty type of rich reddish wood, browny red wood. So the only colour I could use was burnt sienna, but that was far too bright and too red to use on its own. So I just put in a little bit of cobalt blue. I just toned it down nicely. Now the windows, they're an important part of this picture, as is any architecture. Now I didn't want to do them dark, so this is cobalt blue and just a little bit. This is the dark I did with did the roof just above the windows, just to give them like a two-tone type of effect. But the blue is the blue sky reflecting off the window panes. It's better than just having them a very dark blackish colour. And for the big windows, it's pretty much the same. I think maybe it's just a touch more dark in them to knock the tone down a little bit. So a little bit of the colour, and then just drop some water, clean water on, and pulling it around a bit. So you see it dropping the clean water on, just to try and get some watermarks to make it look like it's light reflected off of those windows. Now the sign, it was again red, so I'm just using the Pyrrol red again. Now I was using a brush, but I thought it's far too large for this small writing, so I went to a very small brush. Now is the sign, the text, the font the same as on the photograph? No, it's not. It's far too small to get that. If this was more A3, then I would probably easily get the font looking like the font on the actual building. Now I thought I'll just try getting some more details into the background buildings. Easiest way, just get some tone in, put the windows and the doors in just simple black. There's a blue French ultramarine and a little bit of the carbon black. Now I just wanted to get some a tone on this to sort of knock the buildings back a bit and to make the front building, the main building, stand out a little bit. And this is the same colour I've just put on for the left hand side building. I've just made it a touch stronger, and I had to decide of where to put the sunshine. So I've decided to put the sun directly above, just a little bit to the left. I'm not being particularly neat. A nice big shadow because of the overhang of the awning. The more shadow you put on, the more sunshine it looks. And technically, I don't think the shadow should be there on this building, but I just put this in just to give it again some contrast, to make the main centre building stand out. Now I'm just using a white gel pen, one of these Unipin ones, and I'm just writing in, well, scribbling, the menu. These white Unipin white pens are very, very good. They work wonders if you've got a dark enough background to put them on. And this stage is refining little details. It's more like giving more like finishing touches, really. And also with the pen, I'll just write the words cafe. Now again, it works well because it's on the dark. It's on the dark shadow area. Now the foreground, the road is far too smooth, so I'm just putting the obligatory splattering. Because it hasn't really got much of a grain at all, because it's more like drawing paper. When you put washes on, it is very, very flat. So you've got to put a little bit of texturizing in with the splattering, and also a few little other colours, just to try and get a bit of interest. Now the signing on the awning, on the photograph, it looked like it was in gold lettering. I don't have gold lettering, of course, so I had to try and fake it by using white ink, quite a bright yellow, and a little bit of yellow ochre into the mix. And I think it's a passable colour for gold. But the only thing is, because it's ink and it's on this kind of paper, it does tend to soak in. So as you can see, sometimes you've got to go over it a second time. But in the end, it turns out okay. You've just got to make sure that you space it all out so it fits okay on the awning. Not too long, not too short. Now you can see how it soaks in a little bit and it goes more dull, so you've got to give it a second going over. Once it's done, it looks fine. Now the same thing on the awnings and the windows, and that will be the picture finished. Didn't take too long, it is quite simplistic. Flat washes, just shapes to make the building up, And that's it. And that's it. That's the picture completed. We can see it's turned out okay. It's just a simple shape, simple shapes inside. It's got some texture in the foreground, and remember, it's not watercolor paper, it's mixed media paper. It's very good. It's very good for using outside in the field. It just gives a nice, more illustrative, loose illustration type of look, and I like it. It makes a change from all the very technical things I do usually. So I hope you liked this little demonstration, and if you like to see some more and you haven't already, then please subscribe. It's all free. Leave a comment in the comments if you wish, and I'll see you next week. So until next week, goodbye.